In the last video, I shared Dr. Randy Frost's no matter what rule, where you don't wait until you feel up to dealing with your clutter. You basically commit to doing a set amount of time every day, no matter what, regardless of how you feel, even if you're depressed. What can happen is that if you work despite feeling depressed, your depressed feelings will be easier to tolerate and may even go away. You must set your initial amount of time at something you can do, even if it's only 5 minutes. And if you increase the amount of time, you must do it slowly. Don't jump from 5 minutes a day to 30. I've been doing 15 minutes a day for 7 weeks. Years ago, a friend suggested to me that I work on my clutter just 15 minutes a day. My reaction was, 15 minutes a day is not going to get me out of this mess. My friend isn't a therapist, but he calls himself an urban PhD because of his street smarts. And in this case, I have to admit he was right. Here's the thing, 15 minutes a day alone isn't going to get me out of this mess. But the goal of 15 minutes a day, getting started is often the hardest part. Only 15 minutes makes it less intimidating for me to take it on and get going. What's to stop me from doing more? Once I get going, I often work beyond 15 minutes. I balked at my friend's suggestion of just 15 minutes a day because it seemed like too little to make a dent. Well, the flip side of that coin is, if it's so little, then I have few excuses not to get that little done every day. Before, I'd want to set a goal of an hour a day. Because, hey, an hour every day will be 7 hours a week, and I want all this clutter gone yesterday. But an hour was a more intimidating goal than 15 minutes. And because an hour is harder to squeeze in than 15 minutes, I'd often do zero decluttering because I'd never get started. And what happened when I missed that hour? I felt disappointed in myself. I tell myself, well, tomorrow I'll make it up and do 2 hours. Well, 2 hours is even harder to squeeze in than 1 hour. So I'd miss that goal. And this pattern would continue until I felt like an utter failure and just gave up on the goal thing entirely. Adopting a new habit is all about repetition, doing it until it becomes something you're used to doing. By aiming for something small to begin with, I'm better able to maintain consistency and I become used to doing it. Now, if I fall off the wagon, it's easier to get back on. By contrast, if I aim to do an hour of decluttering every day right out of the gate, chances are I won't be consistent about it. I won't repeat that action enough for it to become a new habit. And if I fall off the wagon, it's more difficult to get back on. Say you want to start bringing your lunch to work to save money. If you bring your lunch every day, it becomes a habit. Deciding what you're going to bring and packing your lunch becomes part of your routine. When you're gathering your things to leave the house, your lunch, like your keys and your phone, is now a regular part of what you take with you. But if you only bring your lunch occasionally, like when you happen to have leftover takeout, there's a good chance you'll accidentally leave it at home because it's not something you take with you to work every day. 15 minutes of decluttering a day adds up to 7.5 hours a month. And I have to say, doing it in 15-minute chunks is relatively painless. I wouldn't call it easy, but I can deal with the discomfort of making decisions for 15 minutes at a time. By comparison, if I did 3.5 hours in week 1, 1 hour in week 2, no hours in week 3, and 3 hours in week 4, that's also 7.5 hours. But it's erratic. It's not a regular habit, so who knows if I'll manage 7.5 hours the next month. And those long decluttering sessions are probably much more emotionally draining than a bunch of 15-minute chunks. 15 minutes is the minimum of my no matter what time. Some days I've done 20, 30, 45 minutes, even several hours with my decluttering buddy. So I've actually done more than 7.5 hours a month. I feel good after I get my no matter what time in. Being more consistent has also helped boost my self-confidence. I want to change how I live. I can, and I will. In my next video, I'll share what I've learned about when to get my no matter what time in. Hope you're going for your no matter what time, and see you soon.